Until the day a hero named Mariner Baby says, dark enemy, we love to play. Being against his will, playing until the early morning. Dark enemy, we explain. Monster faces, deep dark enemy, we sell against the Lord. As Mariner set off on his quest to illuminate a crew, the navigator joined the ranks and so did Mr. Q. Sailing for adventure, stories and for treasure. We will help you through, so climb aboard and join the crew. Deep dark enemy, we love to play. Being against his will, keep playing until the early morning. Deep dark enemy, we explain. Monster faces, deep dark enemy, we sell against the Lord. Ahoy, divers, and welcome back to Deep Dive Gaming. I am the Mariner, and we are back to continue our series on the Final Fantasy. No Tyrundeth tonight, unfortunately, because, well, we won't get into that. But I do have Hiro here again. Ahoy, Hiro. And let's go ahead and get this going. I gotta remember not to click away from the feed too often, or otherwise the screen will go blank. Whoops. So remember to hit the mute. There we go.
That's a weird feature of our streaming software, is it?
Yeah. I'm not sure like what the deal is there, because I have had a game up in the past while we've been streaming, and that might have something to do with it too. So I've closed that game down this time.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we'll keep an eye on it, see if we can. So we actually have an actual cinematic for Final Fantasy. No, this is the remake. Oh, darn. Okay.
Yeah, that's the remake
Let me go back.
the
Let me turn that off and let me go back and see if I can find. Is that the one I want? Nope. Nope. We'll just leave it there. Let me see if I can find the original.
So while my man Mariner is looking that up, this is. And where's Penguin Lemonly? We need her. Somebody summon her. This is Final Fantasy IV.
Oh, and I forgot. Ahoy YouTube, and Ahoy Twitch, Ahoy Mojo, and Ahoy Mariner Kitty, who's in my lap.
Ah, and not meowing like crazy at you, huh?
Yeah, she's been having some weird behavioral problems. I think she's got some sort of emotional stress or issue going on, because she's been.
Oh no.
She's been. Let me say it this way: her orangeness has gone from cute to annoying to messy.
Oh.
And
no.
So she hasn't been really acting like herself when I start up streams. She's been kind of needy, and I was texting Mojo about it over the weekend, and she may have hit it on the head, talking about some kind of, or the cat having some kind of tantrum. Yes, acting like a toddler. And so I've eliminated all the medical reasons for her behavior change. So I'm thinking emotional behavior emotional something or other is at hand.
Her owner is not providing enough food. That's what it is.
No, if I provide too much or the wrong kind of food, it results in a mess.
Yes.
I finally fixed that so that she's not immediately creating a mess after eating, but if enough time passes or if I'm not paying enough attention to her, mess results anyways. So she's throwing tantrums, and I don't know how to fix it other than to pay more attention to her, which I thought I was paying enough attention to her, but maybe not. Or she's just
Cats,
extra needy. She's always been needy, and it may just be that she's getting older and needy and getting more needy. I don't know.
Gotcha.
We'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm gonna put this back.
While you're fixing that, I'll go ahead and lead off. If anybody can politely summon Penguin Lemonly, because this is like totally her series.
Actually, that would be Smasher.
Oh well, and Smasher. So both of them.
Yeah. Need to whip out the Scorpion impression. Get over here! Yeah. Let's see.
So
Penguin.
we are talking about Final Fantasy IV in the American releases. Originally, it was titled Final Fantasy II. It was released in 1991 by Square, now Square Enix, for the Super Famicom, aka the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. This game follows the lead character Cecil, a Dark Knight, as he tries to prevent an evil sorcerer Golbez from seizing powerful crystals and destroying the world. He's joined on his quest. Sorry, I got distracted for a second there. He was joined on his quest by a frequently changing group of allies, so it sounds like you have a bunch of characters that join your party that are rotating through, or as they call it, a rotating roster. It introduces a bunch of new innovations, including the active time battle system, which is repeated numerous times throughout the franchise after this point. And it's basically, rather than be based on a turn-based fighting system,
Your health is low.
Imitates a real-time battle system where
Tyrundeth is in the chat if he's not on the stream, at least. Ahoy, Tyrundeth.
Yep, he did say that he was going to make an attempt to join us on the chat at the very least. But basically, the ATB system simulates a real-time battle or action, basically like an action RPG or real-time RPG, with allowing you to queue up a series of commands, and there is a battle order that is sequentially changing based on speed of attack, speed of character, a whole bunch of other stat system, and background RNG goodness.
Oh, by the way, just because I can't let it go. Despite what Chieftain said on the Lagging Out Live, we're not actually playing Final Fantasy IV. We're just talking about it.
Fair enough. It's okay, Tyrundeth. We already had a little bit of that discussion. I think that's like one of the two major highlights. Well, I'll say three major highlights of Final Fantasy IV. One, the name change for the American release. Two, the main character being the Dark Knight, Cecil, and the
I'm sorry, but Cecil is
not
not a good fit for a character called the Dark Knight.
Right.
It's like what the guy walking into the room and be like going, "Aha! I see you have met my blah blah blah." Take off the helmet. Oh hi.
Right.
I'm Cecil.
Yeah, I'll give it.
I'm the Dark Knight.
I'll give you that.
I'm Cecil. I'm the Dark Knight. Fear me.
Pushing your glasses up your nose.
Yeah.
Because they keep sliding down. So yeah, I kind of get that feel from that name too. Another feature that is prominent in this one, aside from the Dark Knight being a class, also the main bad guy known as Golbez. Two recurring themes. Dark Knight named Sue. Thank you, Gazoo. And then You also have the active time battle system, otherwise known as the ATB system. Those are all kind of recurring features in Final Fantasy that began at this point. And as we did notice, Final Fantasy IV has been ported to several other platforms. There was also a remake with full 3D graphics that was released on the Nintendo DS. We have mentioned in previous streams that it's been ported to both Android and iPhone, and it's also on Steam, I do believe. There's, again, many other things. There's also a sequel called The After Years that was released on the Wii Shop back during the heyday of the Wii. It also re-released.
According to my wiki, it was just released for the Japanese mobile phones in February 2008, and then via WiiWare in US in 2009.
Yeah, that actually is mentioned here. The WiiWare is they're basically the Wii's online shop in 2009. Okay, I see that. Yeah, the After Years released on mobile phones in 2008. So I also see here that it was released on the PSP as part of the Complete Collection. Also included a new game set between the two, Final Fantasy IV Interlude. Well, it was called Final Fantasy IV Interlude. Ports of the Nintendo DS remake were released for iOS and Android 2012 and 2013, and for Windows in 2014. Let's see. There was the Pixel Remaster compilation series. In 2021, Nintendo Switch and PS4 in 2023, and Xbox Series X and S in 2024. Anyways, yeah. Any commentary on that? Because that's basically all the preamble that we could really throw at it without getting into plot.
Yeah, all I can say is thank goodness for re-releases, otherwise people today would not get to play games released even sometimes 10 years ago. Looking at you, right? Nintendo Switch.
And they've been doing that, actually. They've actually been releasing a lot of their back catalog on their eShop.
Just don't get carried away on finding an emulator to play the ones that aren't available yet through the Nintendo store, because hey. So I saw Twitter post about some site being a platform for Nintendo to find people and sue them.
Yeah, right.
Still, I got sidetracked again after studying the N64 of Zelda. So it's gonna be a while before I get to the games. Hopefully, long enough that they'll have released the original, released the emulators, and I'm hoping that they do not put the new emulators on the next generation Switch, so I'd have to upgrade my equipment to be able to play the higher end Zelda games. But we'll see.
We'll see how it goes. I know that Nintendo has, and I know we're getting off topic, but Nintendo has they have this habit of holding off on giving official announcements on dates and such for consoles till like the last minute before the holidays, because they definitely want to keep selling. They want to make as much potential sales as they possibly can before the new release comes out. That's just how they are. Which, it's good sound business sense, but it's also strikes me as kind of predatory.
Yeah. Anyways, as you were saying, before I sidetracked you?
No, that's fine. That's fine. Ultimately, we've got a bunch of re-releases / remasters. all of them having to do with some form of story involving Final Fantasy IV. And I'm actually really pleased knowing that they have more, like they've gone back and released the first several on other platforms in some sort of a remake or remaster fashion, because I'll be honest, the nostalgia glasses, the nostalgia goggles just aren't strong enough for me sometimes. Like, I get the nostalgia for old games, and then I'll go back and play them a little bit, and I'll get so far in before I'm just like, can't do it.
Because you played it before.
No, it's more because of I've been I've been spoiled by, you know, good quality presentation, and good quality presentation doesn't necessarily mean I need the full-blown realistic 3D graphics and 3D models talking with voiceovers and everything. That's not necessarily the case, because I've actually gone back and played turn-based games and tactics RPGs that are straight up designed in the pixel art, you know, 3/4 overhead format like this is. Now, granted, they're not only in like 16-bit graphics, but this is in French.
Oh shoot! I was looking at the title and going Latana de Mr. X. What kind of? I'm like, well, I wonder what language it is. Oh well, it's the only one I could find. Like, you'd be there are full playthroughs of Final Fantasy 1 through 3 all over the place. 4 is hard to come by. 5 I didn't even see, and I mean we'll probably get back to 6 at some point when it's
I've heard, if I remember correctly, 6 and then 7 is when both my own and Tyrundeth's knowledge picks up, though he says more for 7 than anything else.
So I could try again looking, or we can just because the YouTube channel that I was getting 1 through 3 Lacry didn't actually have 4, and I was a little surprised. So
yeah, that is kind of surprising. Oh, it's not French. Okay, well, I tried. I don't think that's. I don't think that's Spanish.
It's hard to say. It's one of the Latin based, I think.
I want to say Italian. Let's see if I can bring up my translator. Anyways, so from here you can pick up and check out some of the wiki yourself, so I'm not, monopolizing the talk time.
Okay, so did you do anything on the gameplay yet, or just the background?
I have not picked up on the gameplay. I just kind of did the background.
As we've seen, this is pretty common with the previous game. Pretty common among games of the era. Also follows the style of the previous 3 Final Fantasy games. Woo! Smasher has resubscribed. You have now traveled 3,000 leagues with Deep Dive Gaming. Welcome, Smasher. We are on Final Fantasy IV. Feel free to contribute in the chats. But the typical gameplay is characters traverse on overworld to fulfill requirements of various quests, using towns to replenish strength, buy new equipment, discover clues, all the while fighting monsters in random intervals. The game introduces the active time battle that Hiro mentioned, where players must issue orders to the characters in real time. The ATB system would return in the next 5 games, as well as making appearances in other games produced by Square Co., including Chrono Trigger. In battle, the player controls a party of up to 5 characters, making Final Fantasy IV the first and only Final Fantasy in the main series where the maximum party capacity is greater than 4 party members. Each character has certain strengths and weaknesses. Pretty fair. Characters gain abilities as they gain experience. Also awesome. Magic is divided into 4 categories: white magic, black magic, Lydia's summon magic, call in the SNES version, and special type of offensive and support magic used by Edge known as ninjutsu. Many enemies can counterattack when attacked under certain conditions. Dealing with these enemies requires a variety of strategies. And then the feature was not used as extensively in future Final Fantasy games. Character shuffling in battle was a problem in Final Fantasy IV. The player could cycle through the entire party twice before getting to select the character they wanted. This was not necessarily caused by the ATB gauge. Even with the characters gauged full, one might still need to cycle through the party twice before being able to use them. Interesting. Spellcasters, which account for 8 of the 12 playable characters, gain magic spells at pre-programmed experience levels. Thus, the game's ability development system is considered the simplest in the series, making it similar to the way spellcasters gain spells in D&D, as opposed to the purchasing of spells in the original Final Fantasy. Unlike the original Final Fantasy, almost no time is needed to level grind to advance to the next area, as long as the party does not escape from the majority of random encounters. Another new addition is save points, which become a staple feature. Yes, please. That was my hardest part with the original Zelda games, was there were no save points.
Right.
Ooh, Tyrundeth's giving us a joke. Let me read. 3 cats were entered into a swimming race across the English Channel. An American cat named 123, a French cat named Uno Dos Trois, and a Mexican cat named Uno Dos. When the race was over, it was determined that the cat named 123 had won by default, as the Uno Dos Trois cat sank and the Uno Dos disappeared without a trace.
Cheesy.
I had a feeling that was going to play into the punchline when I read Uno Dos, and there was no trace. All right, so characters. We had Cecil Harvey, initially a Dark Knight and captain of the Red Wings of Bern. Cecil begins to question his king's motives, which sets off a chain of events which leads him on the path to righteousness. Kane Highwind, that's a name, commander of the Baron Dragoons, and Cecil and Rosa's childhood friend. He has a rivalry with Cecil and unrequited feelings for Rosa. Oh. Lydia, a young summoner from the village of Mist. Cecil's need to protect her earned him a formidable ally on his quest. Taylor, an elderly sage driven to exact revenge against Golbez. Another fun name. Ooh, here's a really fun name. Edward Chris von Muir. The prince of Damsian, and a cowardly bard who wants to help Cecil in whatever ways he can and is gradually inspired to become more courageous. Rosa Joanna Farrell, a white mage and archer from Bern. Her feelings towards Cecil have grown beyond friendship. Ooh. So Yang Fang Layden, Grandmaster of the Monks of Fabul. He aids Cecil on behalf of his kingdom. We got Palom, a young black mage. Porum, a young white mage. Sid, there's that name again. Sid Polendina, bleh. Master engineer who designs various airships for the Red Wings. Edge Geraldine, the Prince of Eblin, and a skilled ninja. And then Fusoya, a Lunarian from the Red Moon, who sheds some light on the conflict that threatens the Blue Planet. Trilingual joke. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reads phonetically as un, deux, trois, quatre, cinq. Or cinq.
Chunk. Chunk?
I think with the AH it's an ah sound, so sonk, but
Kind of hard to really get it right.
Anywho, do you want to take a Twain?
All right, where am I picking up?
Maybe do a synopsis on the story, or maybe read the first little bit of the story, or we could talk about development.
Well, I guess I'll pick up with probably the first two paragraphs of the story, and then be like, "All right, guys, we're not going to give you the blow by blow."
I have to do one more.
So
I have to do one more counting joke though for the chat. So how many gears in a German vehicle? 3 or 4. Ach, let's see. 1, 2, 3 und Yahoo!
Oh God. Oh, that almost sounds like a Mario joke, to be honest.
Well, I can't. Yeah, it didn't mean to sound like Mario with the Yahoo, but that's how it came out.
Obviously, whoever is playing this game knows all the ins and outs because you see them going through deliberately finding the secrets as they're going through.
Mojo's face
You see
palming in
that?
the chat. No, I looked away at the wrong moment.
It's all good. You'll see as the gameplay continues. All right. Well, I will go ahead and pick up with a little bit of story. I'm only going to do like the first couple of paragraphs just for the sake of not sitting there reading every bloody detail. So the Red Wings attack the city of Mysidia to steal their water crystal and return to the kingdom of Baron. Afterwards, when Cecil, captain of the Red Wings, questions the king's motives, he is stripped of his rank and sent with Kane, his friend and captain of the Dragoons, to deliver a ring to the village of Mist. There, Kane and Cecil watch in horror as monsters burst forth from inside the ring and lay waste to the village. A young girl named Rydia is the only survivor and summons a monster named Titan in anger. So, by the way, this, if I had to guess, would be the very first appearance of the Titan summons in all of Final Fantasy, which I may or may not be wrong about. Where's Smasher to correct me?
Also, for the longest time, I thought it was Sin, S-I-N, not Sid, C-Y-D. Or C-I-D,
so
rather.
You might be confusing Sin with Sid, because Sin is a character in Final Fantasy X.
Okay.
So
It's been so long since I heard the name said, I thought maybe I had just been mishearing it because it does sound similar.
it does. But Sid is in dang near every Final Fantasy game. CID.
It must not have actually been in 10 then, because I don't remember a Sid, but I do remember a Sin.
Sid is the one that owns the airship in 10, if I remember correctly.
Well, we'll get there. We'll cover it.
Yeah. Anyways, no, Sid is actually one of your partners in 10. And we're not going to get into it too much.
Save
Anyways,
that particular
yes.
stream of consciousness for when we actually get to Final Fantasy X.
Exactly. So, so she summons a monster named Titan in anger. This monster causes an earthquake, separating Cecil and Kane. Cecil awakens afterwards and takes the wounded Rydia to a nearby inn. Baron's soldiers come for Rydia, but Cecil defends her, and she joins him on his journey. All right. Tyrundeth actually clarifies he is in 10. If you haven't been past a certain point, you would never meet him. But considering how close you were to the end of the game, you definitely met him. Again, another stream of consciousness. Anyways, it is revealed that Rosa, Cecil's love interest, had followed him and is extremely ill with a fever. Soon after this, Cecil and Rydia meet Hela, who is going to a Damsian castle to retrieve his eloping daughter, Anna. However, Anna is killed when the Red Wings bomb the castle. Jeez. I think we might just have seen this scene
Yeah.
right now. the bomb castle. Edward and his lover and the Prince of Damsian, who is also a spoony part, explains that the Red Wings knew Commander Golbez did this to steal a fire crystal for Baron, as they had stolen the water crystal from Mysidia. Hela leaves the party to exact revenge on Golbez for Anna's death after finding a cure for Rosa. The party decides to go to Fabul to protect the Wind Crystal. On the way, they meet Master Yang, a warrior monk, service to the kingdom, and the protection of the crystal. The Red Wings attack Fabul, and Kane reappears as one of Golbez's servants. He attacks and defeats Cecil. Then, when Rosa intervenes, Golbez kidnaps her, and Kane takes the crystal. On the way back to Baron, the party is attacked by Leviathan and separated. So, once again, that's another one of the summons. That's another one of the summons common to Final Fantasy, and Smasher just made mention of that a few minutes ago, that Lev is in so many Final Fantasy games.
There's a poll in chat if anyone's interested.
Honestly, all of them.
Maybe I should revise it to say what should I play first?
That would be a good idea. I would say if you're going to play them, probably play them in a relative order, because I know it's not exactly easy to come up with. Start at the beginning, she says.
I was having that conversation with Winry a few days last week sometime. She thought I was gonna try and go through all the games, and I said, "No, girl, that will take years. As it is, a single game will probably take me weeks."
I mean, the earlier ones will be easiest. Oh, looks like you have a runoff.
We finally had enough people in the Twitch that I felt like I could do this poll.
But honestly, yeah, I would definitely say you could easily do all of them, and
I think Tyrundeth's also weighting the scale a little bit. I allowed channel points for extra votes. I figured Smasher would spam them for the Final Fantasy VI, but
guess not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off there, because I'm not going to read the whole dang story.
Yeah. We've only got a limited amount of time. But
I think, like, if you're going to go for it, I would say Smasher has the right idea. Start at the beginning. The first 3 to 4 of them will probably be relatively, quote unquote, easy to get through quickly, because story-wise they are shorter. And as I've been saying from the beginning, JRPGs are notorious for requiring lots of grinding, mindless grinding, in order to get to required levels or levels of overpoweredness.
Gotcha. Should I run it again? Should I run it again, everybody? Just because that way people can use their channel points appropriately.
Yeah, go ahead. See what you come up with this time. I'm surprised that you didn't get any votes for 10, because I've heard that 10 was a very, very fun one. But yeah.
Okay, first.
And there you have it. That would be the scene where the Red Wings attack and try to steal Rosa away. Or not Rosa, but
do it a little faster this time with abbreviations.
Rydia. It's kind of funny.
We'll put a little longer too. I didn't realize there was a duration I could set until. Okay.
This scene is a little funny because you've got the pixel art hero that you're playing as, and then you've got the nearly humanoid enemies showing up.
So far, it's going about the same way I thought it would last time. I will laugh at that when it's done. There's a great big number of points being used to pad the votes here. But hey, what else are you going to do with the 1,000 points on my chat? I don't really have too much exciting in the way of interactivity. But it's definitely making the poll more exciting.
I don't know. Guess I'll have to see how long I can keep this up.
All right. Well, I'll read some. While that goes on, I will read some of the development notes. So after Final Fantasy III was finished, the team started Final Fantasy IV with the idea of a slightly more action-based, dynamic overworld rather than keeping combat as a separate thing. Reading from the wiki here. But the project wound up, quote, not being 4 anymore, end quote, and was eventually released as Seiken Densetsu 2, Secret of Mana. Final Fantasy IV has been released in a variety of different versions for a variety of platforms. All versions tell the same story. Let's see. Okay. So there are two distinct versions of the game. The original 2D version, whose remasters use the same graphics, sound, music, basic game engine, and the 3D remake version originally released for the Nintendo DS with the new graphics, voice acting, and additions to the character development system, and increased difficulty level. Nonetheless, there are key distinctions between each version. The idea behind under game design, it says the idea behind creating Final Fantasy IV was to create an, quote, ultimate Final Fantasy game, unquote, one that would compile the good aspects of the previous 3 installments. The story-driven aspect is taken from Final Fantasy II. The job change elements are taken from the original and Final Fantasy III. And then the one is a balance between the two aspects ending up in Final Fantasy IV. Let's see. I'm trying to cap this here.
Mojo, of course. Breeding chaos.
Let's see what it is from the old one. Mojo contributed 37,200 channel points. I was laughing because Smasher had like right off the bat contributed like 2,600. But once again, Final Fantasy X has lost by one vote. It's an even split between 6 and 7 OG, 82 votes for each, and then 81 for Final Fantasy X. Wow. So we're back to where I was before I did the poll. Okay. Oh, let's see. One of the things. Let's see. Series made from NES to SNES, allowing for the use of more colors in story, although the maximum cartridge capacity still posed a limitation, and developing expansive narrative-driven adventure was a challenge with the available space. Takashi Tokita, the game's lead designer, wrote the scenario but had to cut down a fourth of what he had written to make it fit. Although some of the cut material would make it to the 3D remake version, not everything could be in full color either, and they would have run out of memory. Thus, the certain areas were prioritized: airships, bosses, and main characters, with the supplementary aspect colors being halved. Let's see. Up until then, RPGs tended to have a map, a dungeon, a castle, and boss battles, and the player progressed back and forth between gameplay and boss battles. The idea for 4 was to approach it from a movie editing perspective to create a more dramatic, story-driven game. By minimizing player confusion as to where to go next, the developers elevated the story-driven aspect. Ooh. Making Final Fantasy a story-driven game led to decreased level of party customization compared to the previous entries in the series. By adding the active time battle system, the goal was to mitigate this. Wow, how I need my glasses checked. The active time battle system, new for Final Fantasy IV, was created by Hiroyuki Ito, who felt that battles in JRPGs would eventually be done in real time. To create a battle system as close to real time as possible at the time the ATB system was born, Ito felt that too many action elements would alienate users, and the theme he came up with was an action-like game without reflex action elements. Interesting.
It's interesting. I find it interesting because the active time, the ATB system, that thing. It's continued to be used over the years, just in different forms.
Did the remake of Final Fantasy VII use it? Because I remember that being very close to real time.
It is it does use it, and the ATB system was completely revamped for Final Fantasy VII. Well, for the remake, because I think they altered it slightly further for Rebirth, because in Rebirth specifically, ATB, and they encouraged shifting control to different party members as much as possible, because you basically have the auto attack function and the auto casting functions for your party members that you're not controlling. So they just act autonomously, but they don't do anything special. And in order to fill different gauges, you need to do your standard attacks, some blocks, switch characters, use their standard attacks, their blocks, their special techniques. And as you're switching, the more you switch and use your other characters, the more the ATB gauge builds so that you can do more special attacks. So it kind of just forces you to simulate teamwork amongst your entire party.
Sounds complicated. I had trouble with that in my play because I had trouble with the concept. I only wanted really to fight with Cloud and didn't switch as often as probably I should have. So next time I play, I'll keep that in mind.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and that's something that like when I was playing Remake, that was something that I was also notorious for, was only really using Cloud and rarely using other characters. But in Remake, it was easy to get over leveled to a point to where you could absolutely just use Cloud to solo everything.
Yeah, and that's the system I think that's a system that I don't remember we've actually seen yet in these games, Mojo. Was to pick what each character in your party does, or that's what it's been like all along, and this is the first attempt to get away from it.
Yeah, the ATB system was kind of the first attempt to revamp the turn-based system. And it didn't go to the extent that all of the new Final Fantasy games have gone to. Like, pretty much every one of them since 15 have gone to a more real-time battle system and some form of the ATB system. Whereas everything before that was more turn-based, and the ATB system was very, very early on in its development. It's changed every time they put ATB in Final Fantasy. It has changed to some degree.
So should I go into easy type with regards to Final Fantasy 4/2? So that's the next
I
category on our thing, or on my wiki.
I
I
don't.
don't know if it's on yours.
Wait, scrolling. I've got re-releases, receptions, sales, and legacy. Kind of feel like we could probably jump to. We could either talk about the localization or the re-releases. Oh wow.
There's a lot of meat in the regional releases.
Yeah, a lot of it's talking about the follow-on games. Like in the re-releases specifically, they talk about giving a full motion video in the PlayStation releases, which is something that they really didn't do a whole lot of until much later.
Final Fantasy IV is one of the Final Fantasy games that has been novelized in Japan, split into 2 volumes, written by Ichiro Tezuka, who's known for writing the scenario to Alundra. I don't know what that is. He also wrote the novelization of Final Fantasy IV: The After Years. There's even a comic book adaptation of Final Fantasy IV.
Somehow doesn't surprise me.
I'm seeing if it actually got released. 4 issues were planned with art, and then the series never happened because Disney's Hollywood Comic, who were going to publish the series, went bankrupt in 1993. Aw.
And Mojo is asking if anybody has seen the Final Fantasy movies.
I saw one of them. That put me off the Final Fantasy series for a long time, because that was probably one of the saddest endings for a movie I'd ever seen. But
which one? Was it Spirits Within?
I think, yeah, that one.
Because oh my gosh, I was not a fan of Spirits Within, but at the same time, honestly, Final Fantasy VII Advent Children was a bit of a mess plot-wise, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the background especially with Cloud being kind of a mental case.
See, I saw the movie with never having played the original game, so I had no context for any of the story, any of the characters. So I wasn't that bothered by it. It seemed to be a Japanese film, or Japanese anime film to me, and it looked like other Japanese anime films I'd seen. So I was not immersed in the Final Fantasy Appreciation Club yet at the time. So for me, it was just an anime action flick with magic swords that apparently split into many different blades.
Ah, yes, the Buster Sword with all of its glory. That was what you were talking about there. That is actually one of Cloud's highly leveled up limit breaks.
But let's see, we got a little bit of time. Let's see if there's anything on my wiki I can mention.
Yeah, the Chocobo.
So there's illusions. There's a main article of Final Fantasy IV illusions. Final Fantasy IV makes some allusions to the previous installments in the series, as well as allusions to mythology and literature, e.g., the names of the four elemental archfiends, as well as Calcabrina, have their origin in Dante's Inferno. Each of the archfiends' names corresponds with one of the male branch. That's how that looks. Male branch with an E at the end. Demons assigned to guard those condemned to the 5th region and 8th circle. Is someone trying to someone Smasher?
Smasher's saying that she loves the summons because that's the chocobo is a summon.
Oh, I understand now. Okay. Yeah, it's very Japanese how, at least I noticed in 10 when I was playing, that anytime you summon those, I don't know even what they're called anymore, but the special power to summon the thingamaboppers is like a whole anime girl power up scene.
And the magical girl. Yes, the Guardians.
I think that's it on my wiki. You got anything interesting on your wiki?
There's plenty more we could go into, but I feel like we've probably covered enough of this to really give kind of the nod to the quality of Final Fantasy that it deserves, you know?
Yeah. So next week, Final Fantasy V.
Yes, Final Fantasy V, which we're gonna have to dig around to find some footage of it.
Is it that hard?
Well, based on what you were saying, you were having a hard time finding stuff on 4 and 5.
Let me see if I can do a. Let's see. Probably wouldn't be able to do it on the tab. Let me open up a different browser and look around. Set up for next week. Anyways, you want to? Oh, idea I had. Do you want to talk about the Lagging Out Legion Tribar Awards while I do this really quick?
Yes. So since some of our fans have some crossover here, the Lagging Out Entertainment podcast is doing basically our own video game awards show, something that we've done every year for quite a few years. This year, we are only doing 4 categories, and we want to get as much of our community participating as possible. Be it in our Twitter, which I don't personally watch because I don't like social media, or if it's going to be on our Discord. There are several places you can reach us where you can vote or give specific titles to fulfill our categories this year. We are only covering 4 categories. We are covering best single player, best multiplayer. There's going to be our Try Hard Award, which is basically the game that sucked most this year. And then there's going to be the game of the year.
My idea was to just give that to any game involved with DEI that came out this year, but I got outvoted.
Which
we have to do
just
actual.
About all of them.
Yeah. I wanted to make it really easy for Chieftain. Tribar goes to the games that didn't use DEI. The Try Hard goes to the ones that did.
Right. So ultimately, right now we're taking votes for the best multiplayer and the best single player games, and you can nominate them. Effective this week, you can give nominations to the best, and over the next 2 weeks or so, we're going to collect what we feel will be the ones that are going to be voted for. We're going to put a poll up in one of our social medias or in our Discord, and whatever gets the most votes is selected for that category. So best single player, best multiplayer. Please, people, give us nominations in our Discord and on our Twitter. As for the next, we are going to go for the Try Hard, which again is the Razzie for the worst game, and the Try Bar, or not the Try Bar, but the Game of the Year. So that will be in about 3 weeks when we will start taking nominations for those.
Well, as long as no one objects to reading Italian Final Fantasy, we can use the same source for Final Fantasy V as we did for 4.
Well, that'll be probably fine.
Yeah. But on that note, I think it's time to start the sign-off process. Tyrundeth will hopefully be here next week for Final Fantasy V. Once we get through the hard ones, the ones that none of us have actually played, we'll be able to get a little more in depth and in detail with personal experience on future installments of the game, 6, 7, 8, blah blah blah. I'll be back here tomorrow night, and I'm going to say the correct time this time because I keep going to my default time. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock instead of 7:30 Eastern time, Mojo and I will be back for more Mass Effect 3. Then Thursday night I'll be doing the same game on Lag and Out's channel at the regular time again. And then see Hiro and Soda and Chieftain on the Lag and Out live Friday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Pacific. Topics to be discussed
Awesome.
tomorrow evening after my stream.
Yes, and I already see that you got a couple of good ones.
Oh yes.
Exciting.
Yeah. So tune in for the rest of the week for those exciting topics. Anything I've forgotten here, or are we covered?
I think we've covered just about everything. Don't forget to check out our website. Both myself and Mariner put articles up there on a weekly basis.
Last week's was the what was last week's?
Well, the one I did last week was the topic where I talked about how the conservative pundits are going after gaming again for some stupid reason.
Yes. Don't do what the other side did. Never mind. We'll not get into that topic. This is a gaming stream, gaming discussion game. But I think we'll probably. I think I know what I'm gonna write about for this week. Since it's my turn, I just got to figure out how to bundle it all because it's going to be kind of a dual topic thing. But we'll see. Until tomorrow night, enjoy Final Fantasy. Fair ones and fun gaming, y'all. Say good night, Hiro.
Good night, Hiro.
Perfect. Bye.
Bye-bye.